Hi, my name is Dave Romeo, and I just wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit about my colleague Jim Barbush. When I first heard Jim do his presentation, The Profile of a Dynamic Leader, I realized this is somebody who really gets it. I love this style. It's so humble, it's casual, it's comfortable. He's looking at the same things and he's looking for the same things that I look at, and he's presenting them in a different way. It's interactive, he's got great quotes, he's got great videos, he has such great rapport with the audience, and he really makes you understand the messages to take away and give you some meaning to put back and to put into use in your own life. I hope you get a chance to enjoy one of Jim's presentations as well.
Good morning and welcome to the Best Western Hotel. Today's seminar is entitled The Profile of a Dynamic Leader. And our very special presenter today is Jim Barbush. Jim is the owner of Barbush Enterprises for Leadership in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Barbush Enterprises offers leadership development and training to individuals and firms and employs collaborative efforts with various businesses to assist clients. The company's goal is building leaders for tomorrow's success. Jim is also involved with Harrisburg Biz Leaders and has 38 years professional experience as a professional engineer. He recently retired from the Pennsylvania State System for Higher Education Facilities. And now, doing his very first primary seminars presentation, my client, my colleague, and my friend, would you please help me to welcome to the Best Western Hotel, the magnificent Jim Barbush.
Thank you, David. Thank you, sir, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everybody.
Morning.
I met Dave in January of 2011, and that was my first promotional session to kick off Barbush Enterprises, professional speaking and leadership development. And we had a rather small group, but for a first time, it was a big group. It was 25 people that attended the session. And it was this very session, a profile on dynamic leadership. And an interesting thing, I had just met Dave prior to that at a Harrisburg Chamber event. And I was thinking, Dave's a speaker. Dave's a coach. And I'm a speaker, not a coach yet, but I can be a coach. I am definitely a mentor. And I was thinking, Dave's a competitor. Why would he come to my event? But I thought, why not? Why would he not come to my event? So it was a free session. I invited him. He and 24 other people invited him. And the session came off very well. A lot of positive feedback, a lot of positive feedback. And shortly thereafter, a couple of months later, Dave contacted me and said, would you like to be my guest speaker next year in June? I said, awesome. I said, what's that entail? He said, a 3-hour seminar. I said, you'd do that for me? Why would you do that? And he said this, which was very important. We're going to talk a little bit about it later, called collaborative relationships. Dave said, you do things differently than I do. I do things, he said, I do things my way, and he has his audience, his clientele, and he says that I do things in a different way, and I have my audience and a clientele. And I said, that made a lot of sense. Absolutely made a lot of sense. Because we do some of the same things, but we're different. We have different things to offer in different ways. And a lot of times in leadership, it's the same thing over and over and over because we need to hear it over and over and over. And sometimes we need to hear it in different ways. And I know Dave, I've been to his sessions, he does excellent seminars on sales, on motivation, on leadership, and some other things. He's taught me some very valuable things. So that's how our relationship developed. And here it is. It was January of 2011. I did my first promotional session. It's a year and a half later, June of 2012. And months ago, I was so excited that Dave asked me to do this, and now time flies when you're having fun. So here we are, profile and dynamic leadership. For this session, can you recognize this car here? Are you old enough to recognize this car? Of course, you might need your glasses to see that on the screen.
It's a Buick Riviera or Rivera?
Right. That is a 1963 Buick Riviera. And growing up in the 60s, a teenager in the 60s, that was one of my favorite vehicles. And it gave me an idea when I came up with this profile in dynamic leadership. That what is a profile? A profile is, if you look at my profile in side view, you see my face with my nose and my lips and my body, my torso. That's a profile. And what I've done, I started speaking in 2004, and I started with a pretty basic, simple topic called Ride a Wave to a Transformed Atmosphere and Do Something Different. Do something different. Very basic idea. With doing something different, do you know it can change your life? If you go someplace where you've not been before, if you go someplace new, if you try something new, or maybe if you step out and speak and you're afraid to speak, but once you step out and speak, you find out, well, I had some success doing that and talking to that individual. So doing something different was the first talk, and the next talk was you, a focal point of influence. And from my own experience, I learned I was a focal point of influence. Many times, I didn't even know I was a point of influence, affecting people in positive ways, and sometimes we affect people in negative ways and may not even realize it. And we affect people we don't even know. And as time went on, I'll show you a list of sessions that I did, but as time went on, I did other talks. I did talks about identity. Who are you? Where have you come from? Why are you here? And where are you going? What's your purpose? What's your identity? What's your heritage? What's your future? What's your destiny? What do you want to do? What's your passions? I did a couple of talks on identity. And I did a few more, and then one of the last ones I did in that time period, the last one of them in 2010, was sustaining leadership through difficult times. And it was about how do we get through the trials and the tribulations that we struggle with, that challenge us, that sometimes hit us smack suddenly in the face and we have to deal with them. Sustaining leadership. And being in facilities, sustainability is a big topic. Sustainability of the environment is a big topic. If you've heard the word green, you might have an idea that that means we need to be environmentally sustainable. We need to do things in this environment we're going to protect the environment so that the subsequent generations are going to be able to use the resources that we have. And we're not just going to use them up, and we're not going to have landfills full of plastic and plastic bottles. We're going to recycle things. So in being in facilities, I figured I can come up with a talk about sustaining me through difficult times, sustaining you through difficult times. Often I found that we go to our jobs and do our work. We plan, we schedule, we set goals. We do things for the company. But what do we do for ourselves? Do we focus on ourselves? Do we try to figure out who we are and what we're about? Do we try to figure out what we're doing right, what we're not doing right? So they were profile points. One point being, do something different. Another point being, you a focal point of influence. A couple of points about your identity, who you are, where have you come from, why are you here? Another point about sustainability. So you put all these things in a package together, and you come up with you. And I'm finding, do people really think about who they are and what they're about? Or do we just go through life getting up in the morning, you get dressed, you get ready, and if you're employed, you go off to work, you do what you do at work, you talk to the people at work you do the tasks at work you do. You might be working at home or you might be working in an office. You go through all that process, you get a paycheck every couple of weeks. Unless you're self-employed, then you got to generate that when you can generate it. But what are we doing about this package? How are we thinking about this package? Have we forgotten we need to put something good in here so something good can come out of here, out of the mouth in words and out of the heart in compassions? I really wonder, do people think about that? And I want this to be interactive, and I have opinions and ideas and concepts about this, and I wonder if I'm right or if I'm wrong. And I might be somewhat pessimistic in this day and age, even though I'm positive in leadership and talking and enthusiastic and want to do things and want to be positive and want to laugh and want to encourage people. I look at the world and I look around me and I say, we're in some big trouble. Economic troubles in the country, political troubles in the country, economic troubles throughout the world, people going through all kinds of things, whether it's sickness, whether it's challenges in their life, whether it's personal issues, financial issues. We go through a lot of things. So as we go through those, what are we investing in ourselves so that we're going to get through? So can I ask, Dave, do you have any thoughts on that? What do you see in people? Do you think I'm maybe too pessimistic or balanced or positive?
I think it all comes down to the two principles of human nature, and that is everything you do, everything I do, everything everyone we know does is done for one of two reasons: the need to either gain pleasure or to avoid pain. And of course, of the two, avoiding pain is responsible for about 70% of all of our decisions. And I think we see a lot of people now that have developed an entitlement mentality and have not been held accountable or been encouraged or inspired to take ownership and responsibility for their own personal success. And I think that's really what has to change.
You said a couple of things there. You said 70%. You want to repeat that part?
All the decisions we made are made to either gain pleasure or avoid pain, and of those, about 70% of them are done specifically to avoid pain.
70% of what some people do is to avoid pain. I am afraid of something. Fear, which says fear can drive us. 70%. Wow, that's a big number. He also said entitlement mentality, people needing encouraged. Do you think people get encouraged enough today?
I think they get encouraged to be consumers, but I don't think they get encouraged to be entrepreneurial in their mindset.
Good point. Entrepreneurial in their mindset, meaning?
Well, if you look at any type of media or marketing, everything that you see is designed to get you to be a consumer, to get you to spend money. There's nothing really designed to get you to be responsible for yourself, to become successful on your own, only as a byproduct of somebody getting what they want first.
Excellent. Excellent. That helps clear up for me a little bit about my mindset as to how I view people. I have been meeting a lot of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, people in their 20s, mid to upper 20s, entrepreneurial people, people who are doing things, people who are out there striving, working at their passions and doing things. Of course, I also know some people that are struggling a lot, trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? Struggling with authority figures, not wanting to submit to authorities. And then there's everybody in between. And I think what Dave said is, I know for myself, I need to keep that in balance, not favor these entrepreneurial people and neglect people that are struggling, but work with all of them, pull them together. So whether they, and even the entrepreneur, he's probably struggling with things that he's not going to admit. A lot of people aren't going to admit to you their problems, their issues, what they're struggling with. And something else I figured out recently was, I'm no different than you are, in the sense of Just because I have a huge problem staring me in the face doesn't mean I am different than you or you or you or you, because you each have problems also, struggles, challenges. So what that did for me, that one concept told me I'm not unique in that way. I'm not exceptional. I'm not to think of myself as less than because of the challenges I'm facing, or the types of challenges. I've started a business. I've been in it for about 1.5 years now. It's hard to get established, but I've got people helping me, like Dave Romeo's helped me. Jason Verdelli's helped me on the internet. Other people have helped me. And what I'm finding too is, rather than trying to sell me something, they're helping me. Now, ultimately, we want to sell each other things, but we also want to help each other, and we start with helping each other. Now, before we get into the profile points, what I want to talk about, I think, relates to us understanding who we are and what we are about. In Harrisburg Biz Leaders, we talked about that last month, is our identity. And I'm thinking, it's taken me decades to figure out who I am. Decades. You think you just know who you are. Well, I'm James Barbush. I know who I am. I know where I came from. I know who my parents are. I know I'm an engineer. I know, and now I'm speaking. I know this, that, and the other thing. But why am I doing these things? And I think it's tied to our identity. And our identity being related to even what your name is. I'll tell you what I learned about my name. James Eugene Barbush. Here I am, a kid growing up in the 50s and 60s with a middle name like Eugene. And I'm like, you could probably test